Wood TV presents Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve.
Thank you for joining us for this special broadcast this evening. I'm Brian Sterling.
And I'm Lindsay McComel. Ahead this evening, we'll take you to the new pristine and brand new Jack Nicklaus designed links that's along the lakeshore and has a unique mission.
And a West Michigan World War II veteran given a rare honor by the French government.
This year marks 75 since the end of the Second World War. Everyday memories of that conflict disappear as we lose members of our greatest generation.
And tonight, we want to share those memories from two West Michigan veterans. Emily Leonard has the story of Bill Iverson and Robert Tessmer.
I was born in Columbus, Ohio in 1921.
At nearly 100 years old, Bill Iverson started his life as the baby of the family, the youngest of 9. Even before he was drafted into the Army, Bill served in the Civilian Conservation Corps, a part of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal. Bill said it was like a replica of the Army.
We had to get up at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time. We had weekends that were free. We were able to go into the various towns.
Bill says his main focus in the CCC was planting trees. After 3 or 4 years, his country came calling again during World War II and put him in a new role with the Red Ball Express.
We were carrying all kinds of troops and supplies to the front lines where the troops were.
Most of the members of the Red Ball Express were African-American soldiers. As they traveled the streets of Europe, Bill said they did make some friends along the way.
There were many people at that time who needed and wanted help from America, and we were willing to give that.
After World War II, Bill met the love of his life, Marie, while both working in jobs of service. He is a social worker and she is a nurse. He spent his career continuing to serve, getting his master's degree in social work from the University of Illinois in Chicago, working with youth and street gangs in Cleveland and in youth centers in Chicago, and then later as the director of admissions and assistant professor at Wayne State University's School of Social Work.
You must believe that you can be helpful. And you must believe that something will happen as a result of that friendship.
I was a survivor. Plain luck.
At age 95, Robert Tessmer is more than a survivor. He's been a husband, soldier, successful businessman, and to generations who have come after him, a hero.
I don't think I'm a hero. I did my job. I did what I was supposed to do. I did it with pride.
Pride and honor. Drafted right out of high school, his first stop was Fort Bragg, North Carolina. By the fall of 1944, he was shipping out to France. Bob says the tone of the time was so patriotic, young men couldn't wait to serve.
The excitement waned and the fear set in, but you couldn't let the fear overcome your desire to do your job.
On his first day of combat, they walked into a German ambush.
We lost 42 men out of my company of 192 at that time.
In his squad of 12, 7 were killed that day.
It was an introduction to combat that we didn't really appreciate.
The harsh reality of war hit hard. Combat in wooded areas of the Vosges Mountains in snow and freezing temperatures. He and his fellow soldiers were provided books about why they were fighting to keep them going.
But it was pretty hard to keep morale up when you saw a lot of your men dying around you.
Terrifying? Yes. He says they were afraid all the time. Brave and afraid. And spared. Of the 192 men Bob started with, only 13 came home. The rest were either killed or wounded. He says the real heroes are the ones who gave their lives or were severely wounded or maimed. Although Tuesday marks 75 years since the official end of the war, Bob holds another date dear.
Our war ended in Europe with the dropping of the bomb on Hiroshima, August the 6th, which was my 20th birthday.
A man of only 20 had seen what most of us never will. Bob says he's surprised he got out of there with his life. And when asked again, he didn't give the credit to luck.
God. He's taking good care of me. So.
Thank you, Emily. There is a serious effort happening to ensure the voices of our greatest generation are preserved.
Joe LaFurgey traveled to the east side of the state to show us how a group is making sure those stories are not lost.
In a town known for chicken dinners, Christmas decorations, and German heritage, there's an effort to make sure the extraordinary efforts of everyday men and women who put on a uniform in service to our country are preserved.
When we lose this history, we lose meaning and purpose behind what liberty costs the American people for liberty around the world.
Opening in 1976, Frankenmuth's Michigan Heroes Museum features more than 850 exhibits highlighting the contributions made by Michiganders. Some of those heroes are familiar ones, like Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Hollenstein, the Grand Rapids philanthropist and business leader who served as Eisenhower's chief of intelligence during World War II.
All the intelligence came through him in his department.
And many you may have never heard of, like Major Eleanor Guerin. Born in Fenville, Guerin was captured at Corregidor by the Japanese after she and other Army nurses refused to leave their American war wounded behind when a Japanese invasion was imminent. She became a POW. During 3 long years in captivity, she treated civilians. When she wasn't working to pass the time, she fashioned knitting needles out of bamboo chopsticks.
And she made my absolute favorite artifact, and that's these stockings here. And it just talks about the American spirit.
One of the things you might notice walking through the museum are the artifacts, the tools of war, if you will, are up high. The focus is here on the stories of the people who served.
Their actions and their thoughts and their daily lives, what they went through and what their feelings were. We don't glorify or edify war. We tell the stories of peoples whose lives were caught up in it. And it's not political. It's not, we're trying to drive an agenda.
Ryder says the focus on stories is what sets the Michigan Heroes Museum apart from other military museums.
As a society, we don't know about the person that the local park's named after, or the highway. We see that it was a U.S. Navy SEAL, but we just drive right past it, and we want to make sure that people grow to understand and respect what they did for us.
While the museum has struggled through the pandemic, like so many of the heroes featured inside, it's survived. The museum's survival is thanks to donors who believe in the mission.
And I think Americans are happy and hungry to learn about the patriotism and the service of these men and women that we display here.
At the Michigan Heroes Museum in Frankenmuth, Joe LaFurgey, News 8.
The new Grand Rapids Home for Veterans nearing completion with a goal to bring honor to those who serve.
And a West Michigan college launching a new program to save a spot for our veterans. That's ahead on Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve. Welcome back to our special broadcast as we honor West Michigan veterans.
Construction's underway for the new Home for Veterans in Grand Rapids. It is scheduled to open next year. Justin Kolar shows us how it'll bring modern facilities to those who served.
Separated by only a few hundred feet, the old and the new, a center and a home. The Michigan Veteran Home Association hopes this new facility will truly bring honor to those who paid so much to be here.
It's going to be night and day.
It looks like a hospital.
Our existing facilities, the most recent one was built in the late 80s. There was a different standard of care back then.
It feels like one too.
At our peak, we had over 600 veterans residing here between the multiple buildings that we had on the campus.
Some of these buildings served Civil War veterans. Suffice to say, times have changed.
Now, skilled nursing and long-term care has really come into the 21st century. We have individual private rooms in the new home with individual bathrooms, so it's going to be a very home-like, person-centered environment.
This looks more like home, and it should. Fred Shibley says this $60 million upgrade spared no expense. Comfortably constructed with community in mind.
That camaraderie is something that's ingrained in them. It's something that it's why they served. It was an important part of it. So having the home-like neighborhoods, the smaller groups, is really going to help build on that.
This building, this home, now stands soon to serve as a physical thank you for your service.
Veterans don't always seek out recognition. That's just not how they're wired. They didn't do it for the recognition. They did it for the service and to help defend our freedoms. Thank them. When you see them, thank them for their service.
Justin Kolar, News 8.
A stunning redesigned golf course on the lakeshore with a mission to help veterans and their families. We'll take you there next on Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve.
And welcome back. We want to take you to a lakeshore golf course that is expected to become a major attraction.
American Dunes has been redesigned by golf legend Jack Nicklaus, but that's not what makes it so special.
Emily Leonard has our story.
Most of the golf courses you build are just a golf course for a commercial reason.
The Golden Bear knows golf and golf course design. He's had his hand in the design of dozens around the world. But this quote on the course map at American Dunes in Grand Haven shows where the game stands in the eyes and the heart of Jack Nicklaus.
But when you get the opportunity to do something that's not a commercial reason, something that's special, this will always be one very special to me in my heart. Just for the simple reason of Dan Rooney and from the Folds of Honor and what it really believes and means.
Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney, former fighter pilot. His family owned the property that used to be known as Grand Haven Golf Club. Rooney says the club with its bowling alley-like fairways had seen better days. And with its location just a couple hundred yards from Lake Michigan, it would have made a nice piece of real estate for developers.
So we'll have the American flag.
But the Lieutenant Colonel had something different on his heart. God, country, and golf. In that order.
People want to say thank you, and what we have provided are these just awesome ways to say thank you, but to also do it in an enjoyable way.
All of the profits from American Dunes will go to Folds of Honor, a nonprofit organization started by the Lieutenant Colonel nearly 15 years ago. The inspiration sparked on the tarmac of Ford International Airport in Grand Rapids.
And as we pulled up to the gate, the captain came over the PA and made an announcement that we were carrying the remains of Corporal Brock Buckland.
Buckland, a Forest Hill Central graduate, had been killed while serving in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Buckland's twin brother and 4-year-old son were sitting in first class on that flight.
Despite the captain's request, more than half the people got off the plane. And it was late, but everybody, wanted to go home and climb under that blanket of freedom that Brock had given his life for. And, I felt a calling from God that night.
Folds of Honor was born. A month and a half later, a golf outing at the Grand Haven Golf Club raised money for Buckland's family. Folds of Honor has since provided $150 million in scholarships for 30,000 spouses and children of fallen and disabled heroes.
It's very special. I'm very fortunate to be in the role I'm in and have the trust of Colonel Rooney and his family and all the other people that come with Folds of Honor.
Doug Bell is the general manager of American Dunes, a career in the world of golf. But this isn't just any other gig to him.
I was very blessed to meet Ann Davis from Reed City, Michigan in the year 2000, and a couple years after she lost her husband Jeff, who served in the U.S. Army.
Little Hannah and Blake were only 3 and 1 when they lost their father in that Black Hawk accident. Today, thanks to the support of Folds of Honor, they are Ferris State and Michigan State University graduates.
We've been a family since the year 2000, so they're my stepchildren. I call them my kids. I hope I'm doing Jeff proud.
Lieutenant Colonel Rooney says he hopes American Dunes will become a pilgrimage for those who love golf and want to honor America's heroes.
There's a saying in the fighter pilot world, we've got your 6, and those are hallowed words, and that means we will take care of you. We will never leave you behind on the field of battle, and that's what we are doing at Folds of Honor.
American Dunes will open to the public in early May. They will start taking reservations in mid-December. Brian?
Grand Valley State University has a new effort to help veterans. The GVSU Veteran Promise guarantees enlisted 2021 high school grads will have a reserve spot at the university. Both public and private graduates who have signed enlistment papers are eligible. They'll have a spot reserved for them when they have completed their service, or they can begin online while on active duty.
Veterans are the most substantial talent we have as a nation hiding in plain sight. And I think that it gives a sense of what it does for GVSU and the Michigan community, is that to empower our veterans to not make enlistment a choice away from a university degree, but an opportunity to have a different pathway to a university degree, puts that talent to use.
If you're interested in signing up for that program, we have a link inside of our story on woodtv.com.
After this, a member of the greatest generation given France's highest honor. We'll take you to that ceremony in just a few minutes on Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve.
We close with a rare honor. A Belding World War II veteran honored by a nation on the other side of the Atlantic.
Staff Sergeant George Babcock is a 101-year-old decorated military veteran who spent years serving our country in France. Donovan Long shows us what led to receiving the country's highest honor.
With a mask over his face and pride in his heart,
well, I'm proud of the country that I fought for.
Staff Sergeant George Babcock sits humbly as loved ones, state leaders,
God bless,
and diplomats reward him for his selflessness.
We owe you and America's greatest generation such a debt.
On the behalf of France and its president, Emmanuel Macron, Consul General of France in Chicago, Guillaume Lacroix, presents Sergeant Babcock with France's highest award, a Legion of Honor. Lacroix pins the medal on this veteran's jacket, symbolizing eternal gratitude for his service in World War II.
Mr. Babcock risked everything for our freedom. He risked everything for France's independence.
In the past 3 years, Lacroix says he awarded at least 9 other Legions of Honor to World War II veterans in Michigan. At 101, Lacroix says Sergeant Babcock is the oldest veteran he's awarded with the distinction.
I fought because I thought this country was the best it was in the world, and a lot of people depended on us to do what we thought was right.
It's that fight Sergeant Babcock's fellow veterans say will never get lost in history.
Staff Sergeant Babcock, it's an honor.
And a fight Sergeant Babcock says he'd join all over again.
If I had to do it over again, I most certainly would.
Thank you for joining us.
And from all of us here at Wood TV, have a good night.